What's going on, everybody? Long overdue update on this girl, so let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly apologize for when you hear my dose pumps. I'm chasing pH, baby. I ain't turning them things off. All right, let's talk about a couple things. I'm still using ABC reagents. I absolutely love them. I have them in Trident bottles now just because these are a little bit taller and the needle only goes down to about right there, so it's much easier just to fill up Trident bottles. But what we've been doing lately, one, pushing the limits on pH, two, pushing the limits on temperature. Some haters will say that this tank really has not been seeing 82 plus degrees for 2 months, but I promise it has. I'm gonna throw just a little screen grab up for you real quick. Since basically the beginning of May, I think it's hit 82 degrees, since the middle of May, it's hit about 82 degrees. And here recently, it's getting 86, 87 degrees. And for a very long time, everybody's always been like, oh, 78 degrees, 75 degrees, 80 degrees, whatever, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people remember back in the day that like their tanks in the summertime used to run like 83. And let's be honest, there's a lot of natural reefs out there that hit that temperature of 85, 86, 87. And it only happens just for a little bit on this thing, just like it does in the wild. So my thought process is, why can't my tank get that hot? You see, I've got two fans up here. This little black fan back here, that one was mainly just to drive up my evaporation originally so I could get some more calc in. And then now it's starting to get extremely hot out here. So we just bought this little white one off Amazon for like 15 bucks. And surprisingly, it hasn't really drove up my evaporation much. It only drove it up by 200 mils. So instead of 1,800 mils total of evaporation, now we're at 2,000. And I monitor that now with a dose. I'm going to be putting it back on the Neptune PMUP at some point, but I wanted to really dial it in and kind of be able to do the math like, okay, if my evaporation is here, I can throw this much calc in it, and I need to dial the RODI back just a little bit, and y'all get how that works. But it's been going solid. So for a little bit, we were just running an 8.28 flatline and just seeing what that did to the alkalinity. And the alkalinity consumption did go up. It started to rise like you would assume it would at first. And then most people it kind of flatlined, but mine didn't really flatline. It still, went up and down and up and down. But now we're flatlined basically at 8.41, 8.42, and that's allowing my alkalinity to stay back up in that 8 range where I want it to. But for a little bit, it was dipping all the way down to like 6.7, and that's just whatever. We don't really care about that anymore. I like that temperature though. The temperature is real interesting because I've expected to see a lot of death from it, but this thing's looking fine. I mean, literally, the Anacropora is laying down calcium skeleton. This Iron Man mushroom back here is splitting like crazy. This Monty right here that you can barely see. This Monty right here and another Monty right here. I mean, like, dude, they're just growing like crazy. The Blastos are spitting off babies like nobody's business, so I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to touch it, to be honest. Like, I don't think I can touch it. It's one of those things, like, do you change something after it's going so good? I don't really want to, but let's take a look at this thing. Damn, I don't think I fed you in a couple days, bro. Let's fix that. PE Flakes, sponsor me. What y'all think about me getting some micromucus in this little spot right here? That's kind of what I want to do. So here's the top-down view. I mean, you go ahead and tell me if you think that looks healthy. I think it does. We always say that you can't really judge what you've done to a reef tank until you see results after like a month or two. Well, here it is. This is a month or two of being 82 plus degrees. I mean, everything's not huge in here, but I mean, hell, let's be honest, the only ones talking smack, I'd like to see what you do with a 3-gallon Pico tank that eats up about 2 DKH of alkalinity a day. I'd love to see how you tackle that. I mean, man, like, come on. The only thing not doing good in here is that cabbage leather in the very back. I don't know what's going on with that. It's been fire up until today, I promise. My favorite, though, would be the Blasto heads. Them things are just spitting off babies like nobody's business. This Disco's finally splitting off, giving me some babies. That Rhodactus finally split on me. This guy hasn't yet, but that's alright. I wasn't even a big fan of it. I think I got it for free, to be honest. Zoas is giving me new polyps, new heads, whatever you want to call them. This Anacropora is going to grow pretty good, though. So when I got it, it was just a little nub. I mean, it's still a little tiny nub, but all the new nubs that you see growing off the side at the bottom and the top, they wasn't there. Them just popped up not too long ago, and they're just getting bigger and bigger by the day. So you tell me if you think 87 degrees is okay. I do. All right, let's come inside the AC to talk about some reef tank AC. So in my heart, it tells me to cool this tank down, but up here in my brain, it tells me to leave it alone unless it starts pushing 88 degrees, which it's going to soon. So we're gonna do a DIY mini fridge chiller for it, but we're gonna build it out of a 6-can mini fridge because everybody else that had told me about the original mini fridge chiller idea, I'm like, yeah, I've done that. It's super simple, but here's the problem. I have a Pico tank that's this big. I can't get a pump big enough inside that thing to drive a chiller that's made with 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch hose that's actually going to push all the way through there and back in the tank. I have zero space in the back of that thing. So we're gonna do it with a 6-can mini fridge, and I'm gonna power it with the P-MUP, I believe. I know I said earlier that I'm gonna put the P-MUP back on for my roadie use, but I think I'm just gonna leave it on the dose. It's in the garage, it's noisy as hell, but who really cares? It's out there in the garage, you don't hear it inside the house. And I kinda need that P-MUP to drive this mini chiller because I'm gonna use 1/4 inch RO tubing. That thing's already set up for that. It's 100 gallons a minute, I believe. It's totally Apex integrated. And the beauty behind using the 6-can mini fridge is it's dirt cheap. We already own one that doesn't get used anymore. And, what was it? The amperage and wattage is not too high. I can plug it right into the EB832 and totally temperature control that thing. I even thought about actually drilling another hole into it and dropping a spare temp probe in there and sealing it back up with some spray foam, but I don't know. I think I'm just gonna drive it just off the P-MUP and just leave it because it's not a freezer, so the water's not gonna freeze in there. It's only gonna get down to like 37, 38 degrees, and it's in a garage that's 110 at all times, so we'll see what actually happens. But I think I can get the water coming out of that thing cooled down to at least like 45. I think so, and that will dramatically change the temperature of the tank. If I get that done, I think my set point is just gonna be 80. Just at all times, 80 degrees. You tell me what you think about that. And always, if you want to see more content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.